Rivers. Come on in, kings and queens, and get ready for the conversation. You're watching a TriCast. I try to come to you every Sunday evening. So you might be watching me on YouTube or Facebook Live or LinkedIn. And so either of those platforms, I want to welcome you to the conversation. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're returning, I want to welcome you back. Today, we're going to talk about the prosecution of the killers of George Floyd. Now, those four killers of George Floyd, they're trying to get away with murder already. They're scheming already. Last week, the trial date was set for March of 2021. And also, the defending attorneys for those four ex-cops, they requested that they wanted a change of venue, and they wanted for the defendants to be tried separately. So just an update in case you haven't heard, the presiding judge, he ruled that no, they were not going to move venues to another county in Minnesota. And that judge also ruled that all four defendants would be tried together. That is so that according to the information the judge released, he thinks it's better for the defendants to be tried together so that it can be one jury hearing all the evidence at the same time, and they will have one verdict. And so I think that was a good ruling. That was a fair ruling that the judge handed down for the pending trial. I think that the defendants should be tried in Minneapolis proper, in the city of Minneapolis. And just in case, I know you know who they are, and I'm going to try to put their faces up for you. But if you feel as if, I'll put that question in, and while I'm typing in this question, be sure to like and share. Do you think that the defendants who killed George Floyd should be allowed to change venues? And if you think so, let me know why. Now, here's why I think that they should stay in the city of Minneapolis. That's if you look at what the defending attorneys are saying, the defending attorneys, of course, it's like the patent answer, the patent reason that most defendants want to change venues or change to another county to be tried, to have their trial in another county, is because they claim they cannot get a fair trial. So that's the patent answer. But with this case, where it was videotaped and millions of people have seen the video, and it sparked worldwide protests against police brutality. And I think that there's no place that they could hold this trial and find jurors who have not already formed an opinion. So that's one thing. So there's no place you can go. There's no place these killers can go where they can hide from what should be a trial against them for murder. Now, we know these defendants. Derek Chauvin, he was the lead. He was the supervising police officer on the scene. He was the one with his knee on the neck of George Floyd as he died, as his life left him during that video. And the other police officers on the scene, Thomas Lane, J. Alexander Coon, and Tao Toe. These are the four police officers who Derek Chauvin, we know, is charged with second-degree murder, and the other three are charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder. And so here's why I think that they should be tried in Minneapolis, because again, that's where it happened, and that would be they would need to be judged by a jury of their peers in the city where it happened. And so, what these four police officers are trying to do, or ex police officers, what these four defendants, what these four former bully, liar, killer cops are trying to do is they're trying to get away from the likelihood that they will be judged by Black and brown people. Because if you look at the demographics of the state of Minnesota, there are about 437,000 people in the city of Minneapolis and in Hennepin County. And you know, of course, the jurors are drafted from registered voters. And so those jurors, or if you look at the makeup of the city, although Minneapolis is mostly white people, there are over 30,000 Somalians who were born in Somalia from Africa and who now call Minneapolis home. And that's also, there's about another 5% of Black and brown people who live in the city. And so the likelihood that there will be jurors of different nationalities who make up that jury is more likely if the police officers or ex-cops are tried in Minneapolis. And so these bully, liar, killer cops and their defending attorneys, they know they're most likely to have, if they can go out of the county into the surrounding counties, they're more likely to have less Black and brown people on the jury, and they're more likely to have white people on the jury. Now, why does that matter? Because we know that as impartial as some people claim to be, and of course, jurors are supposed to be sworn to be impartial, in past trials, it's proven that white people are more likely to acquit police officers who kill unarmed Black and brown people. They just do it. Regardless of if there's video, regardless of if there's witnessed testimony, they are more likely to be acquitted. And so Derek Chauvin and the other three ex-cops, they are searching for their white base. Now, how do I know this about Minnesota? You don't have to look any further than last week's presidential election. So Minnesota, overall, the state they supported Joe Biden, President-elect Joe Biden. And so you might think, okay, that's a Democratic state. But the reason that Minnesota was supporting Joe Biden is mostly because of the 400,000+ people who live in Minneapolis. Because Minneapolis is the largest city in that state. Minneapolis has the largest number of Democratic voters. And if you look at the demographics of the other states, of the other counties in Minnesota, they voted for Donald Trump. So had it not been for the voters in the city of Minneapolis and a couple of other surrounding counties around Hennepin County, Donald Trump most likely would have been able to claim Minnesota as supporting him. He would have been able to get those votes. And so going back to the trial, just like President Trump was trying to always cater to his base, find his base, have those rallies where his base was to get support. These former cops are trying to leave Minneapolis, make their trial. They want their trial to be in a county outside, farther away from the city, so they can likely have more conservative, more white people on the jury and increase their chances of being acquitted of George Floyd's murder. So I'm glad that the presiding judge did not allow that. Now, that's just the first part of this story. The second part is the prosecution and what they plan to do. Now, before I move on, I want to remind you that it was one of those suburban juries. There, it was one of those suburban juries in Minnesota that allowed the police officer who shot and killed Philando Castile to get away with murder. So regardless of the video, regardless of witnesses, there's still people who will look at a video of somebody being murdered by a police officer and allow them to be acquitted and walk away. So that's why it's important. And I think it's a key move that trial for these four bully, liar, killer cops stay in the district of Hennepin County where the crime happened. So let's talk a little bit about the prosecution. Now, it took a couple of weeks, I think at least 1 week, if not 2 weeks, for the prosecutor in Hennepin County to actually charge Derek Chauvin with murder. And he charged him with third-degree murder. And so that he only did that because of the protests that were nationwide and eventually went worldwide. And the other three cops were allowed to not be charged for almost a month until the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, stepped in to take over the prosecution. Actually, he was appointed by the governor to take over the prosecution, and he upgraded the third-degree murder charges against Derek Chauvin to second-degree murder. He also charged the other three cops, now ex-cops. He charged them with aiding and abetting second-degree murder. They were walking free. So until AG Ellison got on the scene, we might have been looking at another Breonna Taylor case where a prosecutor, an attorney general, clearly did not want to charge police officers with a crime, but was forced to, and probably would have, had it gone like it did in Louisville, Kentucky. He would have found a way to make it seem like he had no control, but the jury was the one who decided not to prosecute, or to acquit. So in case you're unfamiliar with AG Ellison, Keith Ellison is the first African American, the first Muslim American to be voted to a statewide office in the whole state. So he is Attorney General. Before that, he worked at least 14 years as a congressperson for the state of Minnesota. And he also worked, and he was the director of a civil rights group that helped to defend people in cases where their civil rights were violated. So Keith Ellison is no Dan Cameron. He has a lot more experience, and he has worked on cases like this before, and he has the experience and he has the knowledge that I think is going to serve the people of Minnesota well, and it's going to serve Black and Brown people who will be watching this case, and those white people who looked at that video as well and can say without a doubt, without holding their tongue, that this was murder and it was a violation of George Floyd's civil rights. And so that is why we need to stay vigilant when we are looking, when these things happen, and keep up with the proceedings and keep up with the developments, because I know things are popping off all over the country, and you might find yourself overwhelmed, because sometimes I say to myself, this is, I can only do so much. I can only pay attention to so much. I can only write about, blog about, talk about so much. But we have to stay the course. And so if you haven't already, I'd like for you to like and share and subscribe to my channel. In case you are unavailable for the live, you will be sent a email or a message, so you can come back here and watch this as when you get a chance to. And so the makeup of Minneapolis is such that if this trial, and it has been determined, it will be in the city, there's a likelihood that it won't be an all-white jury. It will be people who knew George Floyd, or have people, relatives like George Floyd. In fact, this was not Derek Chauvin's first time being cited for being having a record where he bullied people in his custody. He had a record of that. And so there's probably going to be a few people likely on this jury who knew about Derek Chauvin and possibly the other police officers' behavior before this George Floyd modern day lynching occurred. I know one of the police officers, it was his first day. He was, probably supposed to be, what's it called? Shadowing the police, shadowing Derek Chauvin. But, sometimes you get caught up in stuff, especially when you don't have enough guts to stand up for what's right. This is a lesson. Stand up for what's right. Say what needs to be said, because you don't stand up for what's right. And so, it is what it is. All four of them need to be found guilty of murder and aiding and abetting. And the sentence for this, if they are found guilty, is 40 years in prison. And of course, we know if we get a conviction, as we rarely do, something always happens whereby somebody wants to, they ask for mercy. A judge shows mercy and doesn't give them the full 40 years. But let's concentrate on the conviction. And in the meantime, we'll be trying to get them to throw the book at them. And it was an egregious murder. So the chances are that, and I even hate to say it, because you always think the chances are good that you're going to get a conviction and get a fair sentence, and then something always, white privilege, white people, they seem to overlook other white people who clearly do racist things and murder, kill, maim. They claim, I fear for my life. And all of a sudden they get a pass. And so there's always something, but I think the right prosecutor is in place, the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, And I think the fact that it's going to be held in Minneapolis, instead of being moved to one of those suburban, white, conservative, Republican counties, is going to increase the chance that we will get justice for George Floyd, justice for his family, and justice for Black and Brown people through this conviction and sentencing. So let me know if you how you feel about them wanting to change the venue, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to know more about the things that I care about, go to the written version of my journal. It's at eurweb.com. Thanks and have a super day.